Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fairy Tale Wiki Twitter Talk. This is episode 6, and I hope you're all having a great day. Today, I have a special guest, and I'm very happy to have her join us. She's been very instrumental in the recent Discord server being created to help the Fairy Tale community grow closer together. She's a noted fan of Fairy Tale and also a sports anime that I think some of you will be familiar with. I'd like to welcome my old friend Michelle. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. I'm very glad that you joined us, so thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here.
No, I'm really excited to be here and to talk about everything that's been going on.
We're happy to hear from you. So let's just start off with the basics. For those who don't know you, how would you describe yourself?
Um, my name's Michelle. I'm 20. I'm from England. I've been watching Fairy Tale. I've been following it since about 2012, 2013 now, and I joined the Wiki back in 2013 as well. So yeah.
Awesome. So how did you get into Fairy Tale as a series?
Honestly, I don't remember. I feel like it probably came up as like a recommended video on YouTube while I was probably watching like other things. And then from there, I guess I just really got into it. Growing up, I watched a lot of anime on like TV and stuff. I watched Naruto and One Piece and Rave Master actually, but I didn't really watch much in my own time. But I think Fairy Tail was the first like big one that I really like followed.
So you started with the anime first and then you got into the manga afterwards?
Yeah. I think I got into the manga after I joined the wiki, and I guess people were talking about it, and I wanted to be able to join in on discussions, so I started reading it.
What made you want to join the wiki?
It's really embarrassing. I used to actually write like fan fiction when I was like 13, 14, and I like looked stuff up, and then I guess I saw the active chat as part of the wiki, and I wanted to join a community, I guess.
That's pretty cool and definitely not something to be embarrassed about. I used to write fan fiction when I was 18.
Oh, okay, that's fine then. We are all writers here.
What was your first impression of the wiki?
Um, so I'm pretty sure the first person that ever interacted with me was Finn, and that was an interesting experience at the time, because his energy is just chaotic. But it was really nice. I met a lot of nice people. I didn't really expect to meet people that I'd be friends with in the long run, but yeah, here we are now, 6, 7 years down the line.
That is true, especially that part about Finton. He is eccentric individual.
Definitely.
What was your favorite part about the wiki?
My favorite part of the wiki was probably the sense of community that it had. And also, I like how organized it was. I feel like not to like big up the fairy tale wiki in general, but like I feel like our wiki is particularly organized, and the communication there is really to a good standard. And there were a lot of active admins and stuff at the time, so there weren't really a huge amount of issues there. And when there were, they were dealt with quite quickly. So that was nice.
Yeah, there was definitely a strong sense of organization and
Mm,
responsibility there that everybody can have fun whenever they want to have fun, but there is also work to be done, so let's get that done too.
yeah, exactly.
There was some really good management going out there. Shout out to I am Jakuho Raikkoben. He's legendary for being fat and lazy, but at the end of the day, he's a pretty good guy.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, I think I ended up being quite good friends with a lot of the admin and mod team, not on purpose, but it just worked out that way. And some of them I'm still in touch with now, which is really cool.
I'm one of them.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I remember I was a chat moderator back then. You just kind of popped in and you, within like a day and a half, you basically turned Finton into your personal servant.
Yeah, turned into my bitch basically. But
He was okay with it too.
yeah, he was. I think he needed someone to like rein him in.
I think a lot of us would agree with that.
Yeah, it was a really good time, honestly. I remember like doing the podcasts, we'd call a lot, and it was just a really nice fun space, and everyone had something in common. Um, but yeah, it was a nice place to be able to meet new people and interact with people in a different way than you would in real life, I guess.
And also a good way to get more involved in the series itself.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because I think after I first joined, it wasn't long after that the anime took its first hiatus, and so I guess that's why I started reading the manga as well, actually, because I wanted to be able to follow up with it weekly, which was nice.
Who would you say your favorite character in the series is?
If I had to pick one, then probably Lucy, honestly. Um, Lucy and Natsu, and then for like side characters, then probably Brandish and Gildas.
Why them in particular?
Lucy, I'm a sucker for like character development throughout a series, and I think we saw a lot of that with Lucy. Um, Natsu is just a really lovable character, I think. I don't really tend to um, favor the protagonists in a lot of series that I watch, but I think he's a really lovable and fun character. And when he gets serious, it's really interesting as well. Brandish, I found to be a really, really interesting character because she didn't really have a stance about the whole like war thing. She just kind of had her own personal agenda that she wanted to deal with, and after that, she was indifferent. And then Gildas is just really funny with his whole relationship with Hannah and everything. And he's really cool to me. He's very, very funny, I think.
Who would you say some of your least favorite characters are?
My least favorites. I should have said that my favorite was Happy. Actually, that would have triggered you, but
Really would have
my
triggered me. Unhappy. Probably would have just ended right there and then.
my least favorite character is probably Romeo. Um, I just find him to be a really boring character. I didn't care for him at all. He actually annoyed me. I think I get that he finds Natsu like to be his like idol in a sense, or like someone he really admires, but I don't know, I just didn't like the whole imitation aspect of his character. I wish that if they were going to develop his character, then it would have been into something a bit more unique and made him his own character rather than just like a mini Natsu.
I think that makes perfect sense. He ended up
Mm.
being very consequential and unimportant to the overall scheme of the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of the story, what would you say is your favorite story arc in it?
Um, I have a few, but I think my top one would probably be the Tartaros arc. Just because we saw a lot of character development in there with Lucy and Aquarius. Her relationship with Aquarius really came to light, and it was quite a sentimental arc. I think there was Igneel and Natsu, that whole reveal, and then Gray and what's his father's name again?
Silver?
Silver, yeah, Gray and Silver, and then we saw Jalal in that arc as well, didn't we? And I'm a fan of Jalal as well. He's always been one of my favorites. And I think it was just nice seeing Lucy show her potential for the not for the first time, but rather than her being the one who was being saved by everyone else, she was kind of, the one making a big sacrifice to save everyone. And that was really cool in my opinion.
Yeah, that's something I definitely hear a lot about that series, about all the emotional weight that was
Hmm.
behind how the various aspects of certain characters like Lucy's, the scale to which she had to help everybody when she was literally the only one left after the use of Allegria's spell.
Yeah, exactly. And wasn't that the arc as well where Altair like gave up everything to turn back time, and she found that her life was only worth like a minute, but that minute changed everything? That was that arc, right?
No, that was the Grand Magic Games arc.
Oh, that was the Grand Magic Games arc?
Yes, it was.
Oh, I'm obviously a fake fan. I liked that arc as well, though, until right up until it went a bit whack. But before, the first half of that arc, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people like that arc as well because of the
Mm.
battle aspect. The fact that you introduced something around 50 new characters, give or take.
Yeah, that was really cool. And I just remember reading it beforehand and being really excited for the Dragon Slayers uh, fight. That was really, really cool to see animated. And then I also enjoyed the Tower of Heaven arc as well because I liked the background that we got to see in Tijalao and Ezra's childhood and everything. And that whole was kind of like a redemption arc, I guess. It was really cool.
I think that was probably the arc, the Tower of Heaven, for me, that really got me to be a big fan of the anime. Speaking of which, what
Yeah.
do you the anime or the manga?
Which do I prefer? The anime probably.
Sorry, is there any particular reason?
So I actually dropped the manga at some point a few years ago, and it was Misk that got me to start reading it again in 2017, I think. And I just remember following it all the way through to the end. I feel like towards the end, it got a bit not messy, but I was just getting a bit tired of it. I feel like it was dragging on a little bit. And so I didn't think that I'd care so much about the last season, but I just found that seeing it animated really brought it to life for me and it made it feel a lot more sentimental, I think. And then I'm a huge sucker for OSTs and stuff as well. So having that thrown into the mix and then the voice acting was just really cool to me.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who prefer that kind of emotional weight behind it, especially when it comes to the voice actors, because everyone feels that they do provide that extra strength behind the specific words that are spoken.
Yeah, definitely, especially because when I read, most of the time it isn't manga, it's like novels usually. So I rely on that a lot for the emotional like aspect of things. But with manga, it's a bit difficult when you're just dealing with panels. So I really like the life that animation brings into any kind of manga, really.
It's a good soundtrack too.
Yeah, it's a very good soundtrack.
Speaking of anime, there's one that we've been meaning to talk about. So why don't you tell us about this other anime that you're a big fan of, a sports anime?
Oh, I love Haikyuu. I'm not gonna let anyone trash me for liking Haikyuu. It's one of my favorites. I when did I start watching it? I don't know, but I think it was Misk that got annoyed with me because I'd always ask him for like new anime recommendations, and he'd recommend me all this stuff, and I'd end up just like rewatching Haikyuu or something. Which must have been really frustrating, but it's just such a feels good show to me. And I really like that all the characters are lovable and even when they can be annoying, and it really makes you want to cheer for every team, and like whoever wins you're kind of upset and like happy at the same time. It's just really cool. All the characters are very fun in my opinion.
Do you want to give a brief synopsis for people who may not have heard of it?
So Haikyuu is follows the main character Hinata Shoyo, and he is basically not very skilled in volleyball. I nearly said basketball. Um, he's not the greatest because his middle school never really had a volleyball team, and he kind of got together a small team of friends who played other sports, and he entered a volleyball tournament after seeing someone who was his height because he's not particularly tall make it to the nationals, I think, the high school that he wanted to go to. And it just follows him and his team's growth, and Kageyama especially as well. They end up they start as enemies, I guess, and they end up going to the same school and having to work together as a team, and shows their individual growth as characters, but then it also really focuses on other characters as well, which I really like.
That's cool. So you'd say this is a strong recommendation, right?
Oh, definitely a strong recommendation. Most people that I know that have watched it have really enjoyed it. Apart from people who are tasteless, like Spidey from the server, but we knew anyway that he had poor taste.
We'll be getting to him later, so no worries there. But yeah, so like that's a really interesting synopsis, and I think some
Yeah,
people who are in that kind of content will be checking it out. So thank you for talking about that.
that's all right.
Do you have any other anime that you'd like to give a shout out to?
It's very, very mainstream and feel like everyone probably has watched it or heard of it, but I really, really enjoyed Demon Slayer when I watched it. I watched it very late actually. Not very, but I wasn't really aware of the hype surrounding it. Um, but it was recommended to me by a friend, and I watched it, and I just fell in love with it, honestly. And I ended up catching up with the manga in like 2 days, and now I'm following that weekly. I think it's coming to an end, which is really sad, but I'm really excited for the movie coming up this year as well.
Thanks for that. I think Demon Slayer is pretty mainstream and quite well known. In fact, I think it even won a Crunchyroll award recently.
Yeah, definitely. It is one that I recommend to most people, especially people that are kind of just getting into anime. I feel like it's a good one to watch.
You feel it's a good gateway?
Yeah, I think so. I think it can be it has light-hearted aspects to it, but it's also got a lot of action in it as well. It's a nice storyline. The characters have their own background, and I think it's just really, really nice. It has an amazing soundtrack too. Sorry.
So on to a different topic. The new server. So you were the one who came to me and asked a little bit about what the Fairy Tale Wiki can do in regards to joining the server. If we can kind of combine those communities and create one big hub for everything. So how did you get involved in this project first?
Yeah, so I actually joined another server previously, and I found that I didn't really, not that I didn't get on with the people there, but I just thought that maybe our personalities would clash. I was only there for a couple days. I think they were all quite young, which isn't a problem unless like they don't really know how to behave around other people. I guess they were very like uncomfortable to be around. So I guess because I was sentimental about the wiki, I decided to join uh, the Reddit server, I believe. And from there, I guess I just got in touch with Spidey somehow, and we discussed the fact that I had been part of the wiki, even though I wasn't really a huge contributor to the actual like pages and stuff. I didn't really do edits, and we discussed that, and we just kind of we're in talks for a while actually about the affiliation. I was unsure about whether to go ahead with it because I didn't know if people would be interested. But after like a few discussions, I decided to reach out to you. I reached out to Misk about it to see if there was anything we could do, and it took a lot of persuasion, I think, and um, a lot of back and forth interaction on the actual wiki with the current active admin. But yeah, I'm really glad that it's something that happened because I think it's nice for people to kind of look back on the wiki and see that there's an active community still for if they want to join that, because that's how I joined the wiki in the first place.
Yeah, I think so too. And sure, the process was long, but eventually it all worked out in the end. Shout out to Fairy Tale's current active admin, Lightning Guys. Thank you for your help as well as, of course, Misk, who we've mentioned a couple of times, but we haven't really talked about him. He's also a longtime contributor to the wiki and a good friend of ours. So shout out to him as well. And, of course, to Spider Man for orchestrating the whole thing.
Yeah, thank you to all of you guys. We wouldn't have been able to do it without you. And I'm really glad that it was something that we were able to make happen.
So the server's been active with the wiki contributors for a couple of weeks now. Would you say that you've seen any changes, or do you think it's just going to take a little bit more time?
I've seen a lot of growth in the server in terms of a lot of people are joining the server now, I think, because of the tweets that went out, and then also just the fact that it is on the main page of the wiki now. I've seen more people joining. Some people are dropping their usernames in the like designated channels and stuff that we have for them. They're using their roles. I think I want to work on trying to figure out how to facilitate it more in terms of the fact that it being a space for people to discuss things for the actual wiki itself. But that's something that I'm going to discuss hopefully later on with Spider-Man.
So you'd say that's kind of a future project, something to set aside for a later date.
Yeah, I'd say we're definitely not done working on things. We're looking at affiliations with other wikis as well, like the Rave Master wiki. We've just got that approved. We just need to actually add everything. But yeah, it's a work in progress, but it's going along smoothly at the moment, I think.
So what are some of these other projects that you've got going on? You've mentioned the Rave Master Wiki, but Spider-Man's also talked about a podcast of sorts.
Yeah, so I remember probably one of my fondest memories was the podcast that the wiki used to run. Um, who were the regular hosts of that? You were one
Uh,
of them.
there was I'm Hungry 4444 and
Yeah.
Umne, the person who was almost entirely the butt of our jokes.
Poor him, no, yeah, I remember. He was a good
Poor,
taking all of that.
yes, I do. I was actually listening to one of the old podcasts last night, and there were quite a few rather amusing jokes, and several times where he essentially brought it on himself. I do remember one moment where we made a joke about him, and he responded, "Talk to the hand," not realizing that this is a Skype call and I can't see his hand. So I'm asking him, "Why don't you show me the hand if you want me to talk to it?" Never mind, I don't want to see your hand anyway. It's probably all sticky, and I'm not even gonna get into this.
Oh, that brings back a lot of memories. It was
Yeah.
fun. It was definitely very fun. So yeah, I approached Spidey with the idea of starting up another podcast, and because he used to run one as well through Sorcerer Weekly, and so we're in talks about it at the moment. We're gonna try look at how we're gonna set it up and run things. I think you are gonna be one of the hosts, hopefully, if that's something you're interested in. But it is a project that's underway, I'd say.
Sounds good to me. Let me know how it goes.
I think you're going to be very involved, so I think you'll know. But
It definitely seems to be leaning towards my heavy involvement.
we can't do it without you at the end of the day. We need your good hosting abilities.
I've heard that before. But I think that's really cool that you guys have this plan that you want to expand and create more content for people to absorb. I'm definitely a fan of that. That's what part of the reason why I've got the Twitter Talk project going on.
Yeah, definitely. I really, since joining the server, I've become a mod, and that's been really interesting because I really am looking forward to seeing the server grow and to seeing the community grow itself because it is something, like I said, I'm quite sentimental about because I've been part of it for about 7 years now. Um, and also I make jokes about Spidey, but I really do respect him and his passion for all the series and wanting to bring them together and making a nice and safe space, importantly, for people to interact. Like you talked about in the previous episode, how you can moderate people's behavior and stuff like that, and people not having to worry about being
Trolled.
like, yeah, exactly, yeah, for liking
Yeah,
something that they like.
he probably feels the same way about you.
I should hope. Well.
You can always ask him to comment later.
Oh, I'm gonna make him comment something lovely.
So is he like the new Finton?
I'm actually still very much in touch with Finton. We are. I consider him one of my best friends. Um, yeah, he's a really good guy. Spidey is also my bestie, I would say. Um, he's a very good guy. I really really respect him, and even though he uses me as the butt of all his jokes, but it's fine.
Oh yeah, certainly I didn't mean that he's replaced Finton. I just meant more that he's the current iteration of a guy that you're using.
I feel like it's the other way around, to be honest. I feel like I have no authority over him at all. Unfortunately, I have become the one who is under the thumb.
Finton, you hear that? The tables have turned. But I think that's cool that you guys are working together so closely and you have this very clear mutual goal that's going to be beneficial for everyone in the long run.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really cool project to work on, and it's a nice shift of focus while I'm at school and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So that's all the questions I had. Is there anything you'd like to talk about now?
Nothing in particular, I don't think, other than the fact that maybe the wiki being just a nice place in general because I ended up having people who I consider lifelong friends now, which is really cool.
I'm really glad to hear that. I spent a lot of years on the wiki editing a lot of things, talking to a lot of people, and several of them are people I'm still in touch with too.
Yeah, exactly, and it's really nice to see how their opinions have changed throughout the years, how their personalities have developed and stuff, and just how people's lives are going. It's really nice to be able to just reach out and catch up with someone.
We're like a real life fairy tale guild.
Yeah, exactly,
That
exactly.
was the ways we would describe ourselves as a bunch of people who would consistently fight and consistently insult each other on a regular
Oh,
basis, as I already demonstrated with the Umne example. But really, anybody can do it. Like I was always, I got plenty of jokes for being a virgin, or Rye got plenty of jokes for being fat and black, or whatever you can name, and Relly as well for being effectively a man whore.
it was a chaotic space, but it was a very lovable space too.
Very much so. So yeah, Michelle, I just wanted to say thanks for coming out here to be part of this. I'm really glad that I got the chance to talk to you again. It's been a while, but I think it's
No,
been a really beneficial talk. I've learned a lot, and I hope that the people who are listening have as well.
yeah, thank you for having me. I was really happy to be on here, and it's been really nice to be able to just talk about this kind of thing. So, thank you, and I hope everyone enjoyed this as well.
I hope so too. So, followers, thank you very much for listening to episode 6 of Fairy Tale Wiki Twitter Talk. We'll be back again next week with the next episode. If you want to be part of this project, the applications are still open, so just fill out a form and get on board. And with that, take care.
Bye.